If you have not watched the explanation of the previous episodes yet, then please check our playlist for Chernobyl on our channel. August 1986. The evacuation of the area around Chernobyl is well underway, though an elderly woman who is in the middle of milking her cow isn't too bothered about this. She explains at length to a soldier how she's lived there all her life, experienced war and all its associated horrors, and certainly isn't going to leave because of something she can't see. The soldier responds by simply shooting the cow and physically removing the woman. In Kyiv, a now visibly pregnant Ludmila is shown into the apartment where she will now live alone, at least until she gives birth. Legasov and Sherbina are briefing General Tarakhanov on the task facing them when it comes to building a protective cover over the ruins of Reactor 4. They explain that there are 3 zones on the reactor building's roof which need to be cleared of debris. Katya, with radiation levels of 1,000 Roentgen, fatal within 2 hours, even to a fully protected person. Nina, with 2,000 Roentgen, fatal within 1 hour. And Masha, with 12,000 Roentgen, fatal within 3 minutes, making it possibly the most dangerous place on Earth. For the task of clearing Katya and Nina, they have pulled the lunar rovers from the Soviet Union's abortive moon landing program out of storage and are retrofitting them into small, lightweight bulldozers. However, even the rovers cannot survive the radiation levels on Masha, and neither can any other technology the Soviets have to hand. It's therefore up to Tarakhanov to find a solution. A young man named Pavel has been conscripted to join the 250,000-strong army of liquidators and is driven to an encampment near the plant where he's teamed up with 2 veterans of the Afghanistan War, Bacho and Garo. In between chugging down copious amounts of vodka, the 2 veterans realize just how desperate the situation is becoming if they're now recruiting non-military personnel. They then inform Pavel that they're on animal control duty and are in charge of euthanizing the animals in the exclusion zone, most of whom will be pets. Despite their fears, the adapted lunar rovers turn out to be quite capable of working in the radioactive environments of Katya and Nina. Masha remains a problem, but General Tarakhanov tells Legasov and Sherbina that they may have a solution in the form of a German bomb disposal robot. Only fly in the ointment is that it's a West German robot, which the trio note will likely force the Central Committee to acknowledge the full extent of the disaster during their negotiations to obtain it. Komyuk tries digging for the technical specifications of the RBMK design and asks for close to a dozen books, manuals, and research papers, and is only given 1 heavily redacted paper, fueling her suspicions that the state is trying to hide something. She drops in to see a recovering Dyatlov again, and he proves to be still in denial to the point of refusing to even acknowledge the reactor exploded until she shows him a photograph of the destroyed reactor building. Komyuk reveals that the state forgot to redact the table of contents in the paper she was given, and that the contents imply an issue caused by the AZ5 button and a positive void coefficient. Dyatlov confesses to having no idea what would have gone there and tells Komyuk that she's wasting her time. Regardless of what caused the accident, the end outcome will be the state suppressing the truth and a kangaroo court that will most likely lead to his execution. Komyuk leaves, still not much the wiser, but now knowing that if there was a fault in the reactor, even a man as experienced as Dyatlov was unaware of it. As Pavel, Bacho, and Garo are transported to a cleanup site, on arrival at the deserted village, Bacho instructs Pavel on gun safety and warns him not to let animals suffer. If the first bullet doesn't do the job by itself, he's to finish them off as quickly as possible. They begin doing their grim task and split up, with Pavel soon coming across a dog. He tries to shoo it away, but it walks towards him, happy to see a human for the first time in months. Nervously, he pulls the trigger, but his aim is too unsteady to one-hit kill it, leaving it grievously wounded but still alive. The sight of the wounded dog causes him to completely freeze up, forcing Bacho to finish it off and admonish him for letting it suffer, albeit not unsympathetically. When the trio break for lunch, Bacho tells Pavel of his first kill, making the point that while his young colleague's first kill may have been a dog, both his and Garo's first kills were humans, as Bacho takes a moment to reflect on the nature of killing and the toll it takes on someone's psyche, and Pavel sits in silent shell shock at the task remaining before him. Garo sums up the purpose of what they're doing by quoting the words on a tattered propaganda banner hung behind them. "Our goal is the happiness of all mankind." The three men contemplate this for a moment before Bacho shrugs it off and slings his gun over his shoulder again, telling the other two it's time to get back to work. September 1986. The cleanup operation is going well so far, with a good chunk of Katya and Nina now cleared. The bomb disposal robot, Joker, arrives and is airlifted onto Masha, and the reward for the month-long negotiations and eating crow among the international community is Joker's electronics completely burning up within approximately 10 seconds. Sherbina calls the Central Committee and completely loses it on finding out that they told West Germany the propaganda figure of 2,000 Roentgen, 6 times lower than the actual figure, was the highest anyone had detected, royally chewing out the committee members and destroying the telephone. With robots out of the question, they discuss other options that night. Sherbina suggests they drop molten lead from helicopters in order to coat the debris, but Tarakanov points out that not only would this be incredibly dangerous, the lead would make the helicopters too heavy to fly. Tarakanov, in turn, suggests shooting the debris off the roof with explosive bullets, and Sherbina retorts that they just set the roof back on fire. Legasov determines that their only remaining option is bio-robots. People, in other words. Pavel sweeps another village, thinking there's no way his job can possibly go from bad to worse, and is quickly proven wrong when he comes across a dog with a litter of puppies. Bacho quickly realizes that even he can't ask Pavel to do this and sends him out of the building while he does what needs to be done. Pavel walks away from the building with a blank expression as a series of gunshots and yelps ring out from within. Afterwards, the trio dig a pit in which they dump a small mountain of dead animals, which is covered over in concrete. October 1986. General Tarakanov instructs his latest squad of bio-robots on the immensely dangerous task facing them. They are to go to the roof of Reactor 4, where they will have a mere 90 seconds to scoop up and throw as much debris into the reactor core as possible. We then follow one of the squad members, whose face we never see, as he struggles to scoop up the heavy and potentially lethal debris in his shovel. After the 90 seconds are up, he gets his foot wedged under a large piece of graphite and struggles to get it out, spending around 20 more seconds on the roof than he was supposed to. Making matters worse, when he gets back inside, he discovers a tear in his protective boot. "Comrade soldier, you're done," calls out the attending officer, in context telling him to get to the decontamination area, but also hinting that he can at best expect to have decades shaved off his life and at worst will be dead within weeks. December 1986. Lyudmila is sat in a park near her Kyiv apartment when she feels a contraction. Before she can get help, she doubles over in pain and collapses, indicating that something is very wrong. In an abandoned schoolhouse in Pripyat, Legasov, Sherbina, and Komyuk meet up to secretly discuss Legasov's impending speech to an international conference in Vienna. Komyuk reveals that the Chernobyl plant management committed severe breaches of safety regulations, which likely contributed to the explosion, but that she still isn't entirely sure of its cause, only suspecting that some flaw with the AZ-5 button was a contributing factor. Legasov finally admits that he knew all along of the flaw in question, which is that when AZ-5 is pressed, the graphite tips of the control rods are the first things to enter the core, which briefly accelerates the reaction before the boron in the rods halts it. However, the only situation where that would become a severe problem would be if the reactor was already on the brink of a meltdown, meaning that Dyatlov's actions were indeed the principal cause of the disaster, albeit he had no way of knowing how bad it would be. However, the actual truth doesn't matter. Legasov has already been briefed that his job is to blame the disaster on Dyatlov, Bryukhanov, and Fomin, setting the stage for their eventual show trial. Komyuk demands that Legasov tell the full truth, which will force the government to repair the remaining RBMK reactors and ensure the same accident can't happen again elsewhere. But Sherbina reminds her that the KGB would exact revenge on Legasov, his family, and his friends, themselves included. Still, Komyuk pleads pleads with Legasov to tell the truth, revealing that Lyudmila's daughter died only a few hours after birth, having absorbed a lethal dose of radiation in the womb, and asking Legasov whether it's worth lying to protect a country that allows such things to happen. Nearby, the final squadron of bio-robots has cleared the last of the debris from the roof, and all are awarded with commendations and a cash reward by General Tarakanov. From the nearby encampment, an already much more jaded Pavel puffs silently on a cigarette. In a maternity ward in Kyiv, several new mothers are cradling their babies. In the corner of the room, Lyudmila sits on her bed next to an empty crib, looking utterly broken.
You can continue watching Chernobyl Explanation from the playlist on my channel. If you have not subscribed yet, you are missing on a lot of amazing content. Thank you for watching.